Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our live coverage of the Sony a7V. There's no doubt that this is the camera that's going to be announced. I know Photocog just recently put out an email saying Sony has an announcement today. We see that on B&H as well. And so we're going to cover that live. And that's why we have this screen up here now. But what I want to do now is introduce my guest panel. Now it is morning here. It's 8 o'clock Eastern time. That's Toronto and New York time. Welcome to those of you in the United Kingdom. It's 1 p.m. there. And for the rest of Europe, Central European time, welcome for joining us, as well as those in Asia, Africa, and the 5 people watching us in Antarctica. So, yeah, see Western Australia there. Good day, mate. Let's go ahead and switch over. I used to live in New Zealand, so you guys used to be the big brother to us. I think 10% of Kiwis actually live in Australia. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce our guest panel. Now, I don't know what's happened here. Fred has left us for the moment, so we'll leave his name tag up there. I'm sure he'll be joining us back. As soon as I hit the live button is when we lost him. But returning for, I don't know how many times you've been doing this with me, James, since before I was really, I think before I had 10,000 subscribers or something. But James, longtime friend and panelist, welcome back to the channel.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you for having me back. As always, it's always a fun time when we can get together and cover cameras, because we love our cameras and we love to fight about our cameras. So
yeah, it's kind of like Thanksgiving.
Exactly, and it's actually a perfect timing for this to be announced, so we can just be seeing all of each other again, but it's also just rage at each other about ours is better, our side is better.
Right,
So
right. Now, besides your good looks, there's one of the big reasons I like having you on here is what you actually do as a living. You're a director of photography, correct?
I am. I am a DP, and I own my own film production company called Luminous Productions. We are based out of Philadelphia, and yeah, basically been doing DP for a couple years now, and love it. I love it, and I love the gear that we can use to create beautiful art and beautiful memories.
People think you're a Canon shooter, and they think, oh, here's another Canon shooter showing up. But could you tell people what one of your favorite cameras is?
So I have shot Canon, but I haven't shot Canon in a while. So I'm currently an owner of a Sony FX3, and that's been my workhorse up until recently, till this guy came out, which is the Pixis 12K camera. So I've only had it for just like a couple weeks now, and I've been building it up. But I'm basically primarily a Blackmagic shooter now, but I'm also a Sony shooter. But I see myself more being camera agnostic. Especially now at this stage, it's like cameras have just gotten so good. It doesn't matter what brand you go with. It's just going with the camera that best fits you as a shooter, but also fits the situation or this type of content that you are producing.
Well said. I'm not at the level yet where I can afford multiple brands. Every time I think of buying, an Nikon or a Sony, I think, yeah, I want that lens. And that kind of takes me down that rabbit hole. So, James, thank you for joining us back. And I'd like to introduce our next guest, Fred Callahan, who seems to be having a problem with invincibility. We did a test yesterday, or the day before, or last week, I can't remember, but he was on for 2 hours. No issues at all. 2 hours. We were doing a test, and now he's going every 5 minutes. So I'm not sure what's going on. Fred,
yeah, my
welcome.
apologies. I've not done anything or touched anything. I just keep on losing connection for some reason. It's really odd. Sorry about that, guys.
Are you Wi-Fi or wired?
The Canon shooters are trying to stop all the Sony hype from building up.
No, I'm directly I'm hardwired in there. So yeah, it's odd.
Oh well, we'll
Weird.
work with it.
Good morning, everyone. How are we?
We're doing well. Now, I'm just doing the introductions. Now, Fred, he's just under 2,000 subscribers. Now, help me out, Fred. When it comes to being monetized these days, how many subscribers and how many watched out? How far away are you from being monetized?
I am. So I made, what was it called? The partner program is at the 3,000 level, 3,000 watch hours. And then I have another 900 to go to get into the AdSense. So so 900 hours away. getting close. This would be my second monetized channel. I have one from a few years ago that I still dabble with a little bit. Kind of got my feet wet with YouTube, but yeah,
Well,
here I
that's
am.
great. And guys, please do us a favor and subscribe to Fred, to James. Watch Fred's content. I think you'll agree that there's a gem there. He's just starting out and he's going to be up and coming. I love a lot of his content. It's really good. And that's why I invited him here. But I want to give Fred a chance to talk about what he shoots with and what kind of work he does. So it gives you an idea of his viewpoint, and then we'll get right into things.
Oh, well, so I will kind of piggyback on James. I don't like to put myself into one brand. And maybe if you watch some of my videos, you get a feel where where I kind of lean in certain directions. But originally, I started with Sony for my first YouTube channel. I knew nothing about cameras whatsoever. I am not an amazing DP or talented photographer. I'm basically a regular person, just like maybe a lot of you are. I got into just the ecosystem of things and learning how to make videos, learning what these cameras do. And it was so exciting for me because I've always been very creative and like kind of tech savvy in a way, even though my internet, disconnects all the time. But so from Sony, I got into some Canon stuff, the original R5. And then about 3 years ago, I got my first Lumix camera. And obviously, I think that was like when the bug hit for Lumix, so in the S5 2X. Since then, it seems that I feel like inspiration, the tools that kind of call to you to make you feel creative, those are the ones that you gravitate towards. And over the past couple of years, I've definitely gravitated towards the Lumix stuff. It's just everything on those cameras are just exactly what I need to just shoot the things I want to shoot and go have fun. So yeah, there we are. I still have my G Master stuff. I still have some Sony stuff, but yeah, I would say that kind of like leaning more into the Lumix stuff lately. But yeah, I rented the Canon R6 Mark III to review next week, I think. So it's not like I want to kind of plant my flag on any hill. So yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry, let's turn the audio back on. I'm still down with a cold, and unlike my videos that I shoot, I can't just do a cut, and so I'll turn away and sneeze or something.
Let's do it live.
Yeah, so
live,
my apologies,
live.
folks. So let's get right down to the bare meat here. So first of all, what am I doing here? Who am I? Well, I'm the ordinary filmmaker, and one of the things I cover off is camera news and rumors, patent applications, and main topics that show up in the pro forums. Sony is doing the announcement at the bottom of the hour here. So when we come up to 9 o'clock here, 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. in the UK, 3 p.m. in Germany, France, we are going to be having the official announcement by Sony. We already have all the leaked specifications. We'll get to those shortly. Lots of questions you guys are going to have, so please post them in the comment section. And one of the things we were told already by Sony Alpha Rumors is that Sony is going to be releasing a very limited batch that will ship to you for your Christmas tree on December the 25th, 2025, not 2026. So somebody did ask the question, where do we pre-order on the Sony website? Well, I've already got the smart pre-order links in the description down below, and that's for Adorama and B&H in the United States, Wex Photo and Video in the United Kingdom, and Photocog in the rest of Europe. Those are the only ones I have. As far as Australia, I wasn't able to find any affiliate partners, and in Asia, I'm still working on that. But if you want to have your chance at pre-ordering, copy down those links, put them in your browser, bookmark them, and as soon as the hour kicks over, that's when pre-orders should start. Now, I have heard a little bit of contradiction in the United States and Canada as well, that we might have to wait 24 hours, but I've had other sources telling me that not this time, including Andrea Pizzini said that pre-orders will start December the 2nd. So hopefully Sony doesn't provide that cooling off period for us here. Like, come on, guys. We'll see. We'll see. So what I want to do is go over to the specifications now. Oh, one word of disclosure. If you do use my links, I can make 1.5 to 4% back as a commission, and it really does help support this channel. I don't do sponsorships. So please copy those down and use those. So gentlemen, let's get to the specifications. First, I want to show you the leaked images of the camera.
Let's get to it.
We are told that it's going to have the same design as the A7R5, and that includes the same flippy screen. So these are high resolution shots. We've also got other shots from other sources that are showing that same A7R5, along with 2 USB ports and a full-size HDMI port. And there you can see it side by side with the A7, was it the A7 IV? So you can see the difference in the type of the LCD. So it's got that 5-axis articulating LCD, which I think has got to be the best articulating LCD. We're going to skip this because we've got the specs. Everything is leaked overnight. So let's go ahead and get to those right now. And Fred and James, keep an eye on the comments, because while I'm talking, I'm not paying attention to the questions, and I really don't want to ignore anybody. So let's see. So I want to start off with this here, because I think this is very telling. One of the questions I want to be able to answer in this video is, if you own the A7 III, if you own the A7 IV, is this a solid upgrade? Now, we can see that if you have the A7 III, well, then you're definitely going to benefit from moving to the A7 IV by getting that 33 megapixels. And of course, that marries over into the A7 V, and we'll show you the main difference there because the chip has changed. Both cameras do 10 frames per second. So if you're doing wildlife and sports, that might be a bit of an issue. There's no pre-capture on either of these. And in terms of video, well, we can do up to 30 frames per second in 4K on the A7 III, and we can do up to 60 frames per second on the A7 IV with a slight crop. I don't really need to go into too much detail here. Now, there are differences, again, in the storage, which matter. Dual SD card slots versus dual SD card slots and a CFA. And now what I want to do is put this up on the screen. No, I should have locked that because now I'm changing this. So let's lock it over here so it doesn't change. There we go. All right, so these are the A7 V specifications. Leaked. I'd be surprised if... Oh, I see why I couldn't lock this, because now I can't click on anything. Oh, I'm not supposed to click on it.
Gotta love the freedom of eCam, but sometimes having that freedom seen live is...
There we go. No, the problem is I'm just not thinking. I need to click on the application and not on eCam itself. So this dropped overnight, guys. It is a 33 megapixel, not partially stacked. Sony's terminology is semi-stacked. It has the new Bion's XR2 image processor, or processor as they're calling it. So you get 30 frames per second. That's 14-bit RAW. That's pretty good. Now, if you'll note, Canon, I don't believe they do 14-bit RAW at 30 frames per second. Well, they actually do 40 frames per second. And what we're going to see here is you're obviously going to look at the R6 Mark III, the Nikon Z6 Mark II, or Z6 Mark III. You might even look at the Nikon ZR, comparing different cameras to see how they differ. And none of them are going to line up 100%. But 14-bit RAW at 30 frames per second. I think north of 20 frames per second is really huge. I've been shooting with 20 frames per second for years. The R5 Mark II has 30 frames per second electronic with a much faster readout speed. And that's kind of key. And I think that's what we're getting here with this new stacked sensor. It's not all good. It's not all bad. So what does this mean? Well, what it allows Sony to do is to shorten or reduce the readout speed. That means it reduces the rolling shutter. That means you can shoot electronic at 30 frames per second without the wobble. It doesn't need to be a global shutter sensor to do this well. You drop it down to around 9, 10, 6 milliseconds, and you're really not going to see any motion blur unless you're really up close to a batter as you're swinging that bat around. But what happens when you reduce or reduce the readout speed? Well, one thing happens is you tend to increase the noise levels. So it's a balancing act. With the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, with what I'm shooting right now, we get 16 plus stops of dynamic range, which is great for video. But in stills, what people noticed is, depending on whether you're shooting mechanical or electronic, the dynamic range kind of fell off just a little bit, but noise in high ISO went up. Why does that matter? Well, it doesn't unless you're a wildlife photographer and you're kind of a pro wildlife photographer. Well, then you know that most of your stuff happens during low light conditions, so dawn and dusk. So we'll have to wait and see how Sony exactly does this, but you get a faster readout speed. That's good. That allows you to focus on the electronic shutter at 30 frames per second versus, I think, 10 frames per second mechanical. James, does that sound about right?
That sounds about right. Yeah, sounds about right.
Okay, and the other specifications, IBIS was rumored to be 8 stops or 8.5 stops. At 7.5 stops, 4K up to 60 frames per second uncropped. 4K Now there's a big crop here. We were told it was a small crop, but a 1.5 times crop in 4K, 100 and 120 frames per second. But you're getting 16 stops of dynamic range. That's really, really big. Now tests might show it's around 13.5 or 14.5. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Well, no, not allegedly, because somebody just posted the leaked specifications on the web, so it's pretty sure that they're real now.
Yeah.
I mean, I say allegedly, like total dynamic range, but how much of it is actually usable? There's always a thing of, okay, like Canon, yes, you can see 16 stops of dynamic range, but really only like 10 and a half to 11 and a half are actually usable on a lot of the Canon cameras.
True. Really good question here, guys. Really good question. But would a pro wildlife photographer even care about this camera? No. No, they wouldn't. They'd be going with Sony's top shelf cameras. They'd look at maybe the A9 III or the A1 II, the A7R5. They wouldn't be touching this camera, but the A7, the A7V, the A7IV, the A7 III, these are what most hobbyists and what starting off pros will want to get into. It's a good starting platform that gives you a lot of the video capabilities you need, a lot of the photo capabilities. So yeah, not necessarily a pro camera, but then again, I've seen pros that can do amazing things with cameras like this. So I'm very careful to say a pro would never use it, but it's not their first choice.
Hey, Simon, I shoot quite a bit of wildlife and birds, just for fun, and I share some stuff with it. The A7R5 is my current camera that I use for most of my wildlife stuff, and the 61 megapixels is amazing if you want to crop in. I know that's a taboo subject, don't crop post, but for the most part, the only downfall to that sensor is that the ISO, when you're shooting, you're dusk and dawn, you're kind of shooting in those two time frames. The good thing is that there's so much, denoising software out now that it does kind of like tip that away, so you don't have to.
And that's a good point before James stopped kicking him off. So a question for you, James. Melvin says or asks, why would you buy this camera instead of the FX3? There's also somebody who asked about OpenGate, which we don't have. So why would you, James, go with this camera instead of the FX3?
So, me personally, I don't know if I would go with this over the FX3. The FX3 is established. It has a lot more video features built into the camera, like shutter angle. Now you can shoot Blackmagic RAW to a video assist recorder. However, if you are someone that I think, let's see if I remember. I believe it was, Afseli said as an A7 III owner, finally being able to shoot 4K 60 with no crop. If you're coming, I think you pointed out, Simon, multiple times that if you're coming from the A7 line and you sort of and that's sort of been your field, I mean, this is a solid upgrade. But for me, the FX3, even though it's like we're going on almost 5 years now with it, it's still a workhorse. And here in Philadelphia, like Sony's are like the dominant cameras are like Sony's and Reds and Ari's and Blackmagics for filmmaking. And the FX3 being one of the more popular ones. It's just, for me, there's just a lot more built-in video tools, but it doesn't mean that people that look at this camera can't get video tools too. So there's a monitor, and I think this is a good time to bring up. There's actually a phone app called Monitor Plus, the plus symbol. It's Monitor, the plus symbol, but you could basically download it for free, and you get control over the camera. You get to use focus. It can rack focus and do focus tracker with it. And if you just put a one-time payment of $20, you then get video assist features like false color. You even get, and I'll put this in air quotes because it's a patent and it's not exactly it, but you get EL zone, or you get stop-based exposure, which is my personal favorite type of exposure tool, because it's very detailed. And as a DP, where I'm very particular about getting the scene as I wanted or getting the feel that I wanted, having a true stop base exposure tool is is one of the best things. And Monitor Plus basically works on all of modern Sony cameras, and it only works with Sony cameras. Um, Even though it's a third party app, but only Sony shooters have been shooters. I've been begging Canon and Blackmagic and Lumix to like talk to Monitor Plus and see how you guys can integrate your cameras into this app, because having that feature is one of the key reasons why I'm still an FX3 owner.
Yeah, and I got to admit, like technically, the A7V doesn't have false colors. It doesn't have the EL zone, excuse me. But as you mentioned, with that app, the one-time $20 purchase, you do get the EL zone and false colors. And I gotta say, I love these tools. I don't know why they don't just put them in the camera, but you know, false colors, they're great. I use waveforms myself. I probably need to fiddle around, and because right now the depth of field button on the front of my camera switches between zebras on and off. I should probably switch, because I shoot a lot of outside, a lot of wildlife and people, and it doesn't really matter if the person is exactly within that middle gray area, because you've got so much dynamic going on and you don't really notice it. So when you're doing a corporate piece or you're up close, you really want to nail that, especially if you're in dynamic environments. And I should probably switch over that depth of field button to allow for the false colors. Some people are asking, I see some questions here, if you could comment on also, James. I'll give you the floor back, but I want to expand that. People are saying they're not listening to their customers. Another person said no open gate. Is this really, at this segment, is that big of a deal?
I think it's going to eventually. It's not there yet, even though I've been a big proponent of open gate, and I've been somebody that's been getting on Sony about shooting open gate.
Yeah.
Sony has made a comment that they don't see it in their customer base of the demand for that. I think now that Canon is sort of really started to hammer, even though Lumix has been doing this for a while, and Blackmagic with their cinema camera, they've been having open gate. I think it's once Canon has done this, it's going to really sort of make Sony start reconsidering it. I think open gate, as a filmmaker, open gate is a big deal for me. It's not really the cropping that is a part of it. Really, for me, it's the ability to see what the full aspect of what my lenses that I'm using are doing, and it's giving me that option to just take full advantage of all the different type of lenses, whether they're anamorphic lenses or spherical lenses, but taking full advantage of the characteristics of that lens. That to me is the pure beauty of open gate, but also the ability to just deliver. If I want to deliver a 1x1, or if I want to deliver a 3:2 to YouTube, I can do that, and I don't have to crop in and lose anything. So it's getting there to be a big deal. However, I think Sony has I think that they've relied on the laurels of not just their cameras and the technologies that they have, but also the technologies that around it. Again, Monitor Plus is one of them. Recently, there was an update to where now you can do monitor control, which is a Sony proprietary app. You can now do that on your MacBook computer, but essentially, through Wi-Fi, you can now control your cameras, your Sony cameras, through on your laptops, on your MacBook laptops, which would be a great thing to have if you want to do podcasting, especially if you have multiple cameras, and you can control them all, you can record them, you can set different settings. Nobody has that. Quickly on we talk about the design of the A7R5 fully articulating screen. That's another thing to me that I really appreciated from Lumix with the recent Lumix cameras, with the S1 II and the S1R2, where they have that fully articulating screen, because I really, really am not a fan of the traditional flippy screen, because it throws off the balance when you're especially if you're going to handhold. It just throws off the balance whenever you have to look towards the shoulders, and it throws your shoulders, so you always get that little movement. Whereas if my eyesight, like I have like with my Pixis my Blackmagic Pixels here, my eyesight is lined up with the camera. That means that I'm not going to do as much shaking. I can keep a steady pace. So if this camera having that, to me, is going. A lot of people are not going to appreciate it until they actually see it. It's like built-in NDs. Until you've actually seen it and shoot with it, the experience with it, it will change your perspective, and you'll be like, why doesn't everybody have this?
Fair enough. I'm seeing something in the comments, and I wasn't able to validate this yesterday. I'm seeing some people say that the A7V doesn't have oversampling, which I find hard to believe. I know that it doesn't do 7K, it doesn't do 6K, but Sony's always provide oversampled 4K video from whatever the sensor is. So I'd want to get I want to validate that. That to me is something that I'd be really surprised if Sony doesn't do. So Jay Joseph, if you could let me know where you got that information from, I'd really like to know about that. When it comes to OpenGate, I'm seeing a lot of people say I don't care about OpenGate. Some people that say I do. I do really believe at this point it's a very, very small subsect of the marketplace, and I'll give you a chance to jump in with that, Fred. For me, I shoot primarily video. I shoot a lot of video, and I had an honest reflection the other day, and I said, okay, the stuff that Sony doesn't have in the A7V, such as OpenGate, do I shoot that? Not as yet. Do I need to yet? Not yet. I might, and it's nice to have it there. And I thought about, well, what about 6K 60 or 7K 60? Well, my camera does 8K, so I never shoot in 8K. I did it once, but I always shoot in 8K over sample 4K. I like that detail, so I'm always shooting 8K. I'm just downsampling in camera. So as long as the A7V has, 7K over sample 4K, good news. I'm really happy about that. What else is it missing in terms of video, Fred, do you recall?
I want to jump into the OpenGate thing real quick. It's like OpenGate has been, over the past few years, it's the feature that you don't care about until the brand that you have or that you own comes out with it. It's something that when someone else does it, I've seen a lot of people in comment section just being like, nobody cares about that. And then a year goes by, the next brand brings it out, and then another 6 months go by, and then Canon drops it. Obviously, it's a thing, and it's important to a lot of people as much as people will deny it. Personal experience, the S5 2X, when I first got that, I was on the same exact that camp. I was in it. I'm like, am I going to use this OpenGate? I mean, is it that big of a deal? Yeah, you can reframe and blah 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 blah. Once you have it and you're able to use it, it's like it's going to surprise you how much you actually use it. Especially if you're shooting anamorphic. If you're, I made a video just yesterday, put it out about the S35, the old autofocus Sirui lens for the anamorphics. The OpenGate is such a powerful thing to have on your camera, especially if you're making videos like that. It's undeniable at this point. And with going back to the articulating screen, those features should just be, that should be something that is just a no-brainer. It should be included in those cameras, especially at this price point, especially
Agreed.
with the environment that we're in right now. Like if a Fuji OpenGate camera for like $1,500, if they can do it, then why can't everyone do it? And it almost gives me that kind of Apple sort of thing happening. When iPhones first came out, they were innovating, they were doing such incredible things. And it's like Sony sort of took that. I'm not saying anything, I'm not speaking negatively. I'm just saying that it's almost like they rested on their laurels. They're like, hey, we're doing all right. We're going to kind of hold back and slow down a little bit while, Samsung, Android, those phones sort of pass them by with the feature sets. And it feels like that again. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree.
This is common in the camera industry. Canon did it from around 2010 to 2020. These are businesses. And first of all, if you think they're your friends, they're not. They're businesses. They want to make money. And the primary, all this R&D costs a ton of money. So at a certain point, they look at saying, okay, now let's rest back a little bit and let's just try to focus on recouping our return on investment for the research and development. It's common. All the camera companies do it. But we don't care about that. What we care about is what is the best camera for ourselves. So I want to take a look back at the specifications, and if I'm of what I'm looking for here, because one person just said, well, they only do 10 frames per second mechanical. So what? My R5 Mark II and Mark I does 12, and you know what? Most of the times I'm shooting mechanical with my settings, I'm not even getting close to that. I'm getting 7 or 8 frames per second. If you want the real speed, you're moving over to electronic, and you're getting the speed, and you're getting the results. So arguing over the mechanical being less than, well, that's a spec. That's not an actual real world kind of consideration. But, you know, you talked about the LCD. As a wildlife photographer, we're shooting with long lenses, and what often we want to bring that LCD out. Flipping it out to the side, it gets in the way. But getting that pre-capture, 30 frames per second, 14-bit RAW at 33 megapixels, it's powerful. It's good for sports, good for fast action. The AI processing chip, 16 stops of dynamic range. It provides a lot of good things. Full-size HDMI, dual USB-C ports. So for video recording, for photography, it's a good, solid camera, but it's not the best for video. Why? Well, Sony has their FX line, and Sony will tell you, if you want to do a lot of video, go with the FX line. I've got friends who bought the Alpha 1 and said, and they call up Sony, and Sony says, well, you should be shooting with an FX line. This is from Sony themselves. Sony has such a very, very segmented line. You've got half a dozen ZV cameras, vlogging cameras. You've got 3 A7C cameras. You've got the A7III, the A7IV, and now the A7V. There's a lot to choose from with Sony. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't give them a lot of room to really bump up cameras. But you've got to ask yourself, if you own the A7 III, if you own the A7 IV, are these capabilities enough for you to spend what is essentially 3,000 on? 3,000 euros are pretty much right around 3,000 US dollars. That's your personal question. I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm also not going to tell you that not having OpenGate isn't an issue for you. It might be. For me, it isn't yet. But if I had it, that might change things, right? All I want to do here is to try and inform you and answer as many of your questions as we get down to the last half an hour. So I really want to focus.
Simon, a question came in for you is why categorize it as a hybrid?
Because it does both video and stills. That's why they call it a hybrid. It does video and stills. Even if it only does one video resolution, mode, refresh rate, it's still a hybrid camera as opposed to just a photo-only camera, which there's a lot of people who would love to see a photo-only camera.
Yeah.
What if Sony drops OpenGate today? the curveball no one saw coming.
You know,
I'll never say never, but I'll take the field for this one.
Okay, so Fred, you haven't talked as much because you keep, getting upset with what I say and just closing your stream and coming back after you cool down.
Like, Simon's ridiculous. I'm out of here.
So take a look at what Ed Wing just wrote. What would you say is better for video, the Canon R6 Mark II, the Nikon Z6 Mark III, the Nikon ZR, or the Sony a7V? I added a few more, Ed.
I have personal experience with the R6 Mark II, and then that was before they gave you C-Log 2. It was still running on C-Log 3, and the video, it was pretty good. What was that? Was that I apologize if I don't know exactly, but I can't remember if it was H.265 on that. Was like the base 4K, but so
it was
overall,
it was
what was it? It was right. Yeah. So I think that with the sensor from the Z6 III and the S1 Mark II, having experience with that camera as well, I would obviously lean away from the Mark II as far as video goes. Personally, if that was a question, I don't know if like there's a comparison there, but the sensor on the is that the same sensor on the 6K also, right? The Pixis. Well, that's like the rumored sensor on that camera, James.
So this is actually the Pixis 12K. So the rumored of the Pixis 6K, it's the same one as the S5. It's supposedly the same one as the S5 II.
Okay.
The rumored
one.
Yeah. This one is the 12K is and it's a completely different sensor that Blackmagic built themselves. It's not even a Bayer sensor; it's an RGBW sensor. So I could go techno-nerdily, but long story short, they built this
Nerd out, brother.
they built this basically to make the perfect 4K camera. So you can take basically you got the same exact reds, greens, and blues, unlike Bayer patterns, which are red, blue, and 2 greens. This one, and it's also a 6x6 pattern. So, but long story short, you have the same amount of reds, the same amount of greens, and the same amount of blues to make the perfect 4K camera. So it's a true like 4K camera, and because of that, in RAW it can actually downsample to 8K and 4K, and basically there's no loss of visuals. It's fully cropped. You can change it how you go, and also the readout speed gets faster, and it can go as fast as an FX3. It's I believe it's like 2:4 to 1. It can go. It's the readout speed is just as fast as the FX3 or the A7S3. Most of the and open gate, it's faster than the S1R2. And it's open gate formats. So I love it purely just I haven't even really shot 12K or 8K. The time I've been filming with this, it's only been shooting 4K, and it's a blast. But like I said, we're here about Sony. I don't want to divvy it stray away
So-
of Sony on a Pixel.
Looping back around, guys, what are your guys' thoughts about? I've seen people say that shooting in 8K is kind of ridiculous, and if that's overkill for what most people what they're delivering on, 8K can be a little bit too much, I guess, or it's not worth the file sizes. Maybe, do you think that Sony kind of holding those back? I mean, I know the R5 A7R5 shoots 8K, and I think the A9 shoots 8K as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like James just said, is that honestly something that we're going to use? Is it something that you're getting upset about that's not a feature in a camera that you're going to use maybe 5% of the time? Like, what do you guys think?
One thing Sony has done
Honestly-
with this camera is they've really redesigned the image processor. It's supposed to be faster. It's supposed to provide you with a bit more detail. I always try to avoid the specifications. One person said about 15 minutes ago, so can it deliver really good 4K? I've seen professional cameras that can deliver better quality 4K than an 8K oversample 4K camera can, right? It's all about what it delivers, how well it does it, and to avoid the specifications. The reason why I went with the R5 Mark II is at the time, or the R5 is at the time, the only really way to get detailed 4K and at least stay in the Canon ecosystem was to get an oversampled camera, and Canon didn't do oversamples. So the R5 was the first camera, and that 4K 30 was more detailed than the A7S3 at the time. So it gave me that. It also gave me 4K 120 that looked decent with IBIS, without a crop, and all that stuff that Canon hadn't done up until then. So I think you have some cameras that can do 6K oversample 4K that are just as good as 8K, right? So it's to get away from the specifications, and this is where I'm caution everybody in my video. Look, if you're on the fence and really want this camera, pre-order as soon as you can. Then watch the shipping date. Then do your research, because I can only talk about what people have told me. I haven't seen the camera. You need to see the results. And unfortunately, on YouTube, you're not going to see the full results because it's highly
James
compressed.
is boiling right now.
I know, and I'm going to let James go next. But you need to find some good sources online that have done reviews that you can trust, that are going to give you the goods, because you can't buy on specs. You've got to. It's value at the end of the day, and it's how it looks. It's how it feels. James, take it away.
Okay, so the oversampling is a bit of a passion recently for me, mainly because of this camera, because the coverage of the Pixis 12K, it's not been, they've been great and there's been great information, but everybody's always been shooting the 12K and the 8K. And very few people cover the 4K aspect of the camera, which, and the reason why I bring that up is because it's like you asked, the question you asked was, is there a reason for 7K, 6K, or 8K? And my answer is, unless you are unless you are on projects, at least from videos filming's perspective, unless you're on a project that has very heavy visual effects, in that situation, visual effect houses love the more resolution you can give them. It helps
Yep.
them out. Outside of that, there isn't really a reason to shoot higher than 4K. Some people will be like, but I want to crop in. If that's the type of shooter you are, I'm not knocking you. Me, I like setting the frame for how I want to. But I bring this up specifically for the Pixis 12K because the 4K of this camera is some of the most detailed I have ever seen out of any camera. This 4K camera in probably the most compressed codec that you have, which it has more details in a lot of 6K cameras that I've seen. It holds more details because it's oversampling from that 12K. So yes, like, look, you have higher resolutions, and having higher resolutions, I guess the benefit is that you could take that oversampling, or if you want to future proof yourself. But in terms of a future, we're far away from that. So if Sony's just only having 4K and not a 6K options, one, that's cool because you're saving more space. On a 512 gigabyte CF Express card, I can get 3 hours and 40 minutes of 4K recording on shooting the most compressed option, which is Q5. And I quite frankly don't see a reason to go higher or go even higher unless the client demands it. Or again, I'm shooting a heavy VFX project. In that case, then I have the option there. But for me, it's like the 4K is perfectly fine, which is why I still have a Sony FX3, and that camera is a workhorse because it has a great sensor. It works well for a lot of situations, and it gets the job done. So yeah, sorry, I went on a rant. I know, but
Oh,
so like
did
I
you
said,
ever?
this oversampling conversation it's big because I think too many people are so big on shooting on these high res. I'm like, most of y'all are going to hate the fact of storage you're going to have anyway. So you'll want to shoot the 4K
Can I
anyway.
tell my story? Can I tell my story about the summer?
No, you cannot, Simon. No,
Come
you
on.
cannot.
Come on.
Go ahead.
I went to
Hey,
Vancouver this summer
Luke
for
Brown.
9 days, and
sorry.
I shot 1.1 terabytes. I shot I shot in two modes: 4K, 30 frames per second, all intra, XF AVC S, 10-bit 422, and I shot in 4K 120, all intra. I came back with 1.1 terabytes of footage. That was a lot of footage to have. I love the results, I really do. But the amount of horsepower you need to go through that, the amount of effort, the amount of time, 10-bit 422, log profiles, detailed sensors, they're all great. But there's a certain level of investment of time and effort in there. And one thing I'm really surprised. Now, I've been doing this enough time, so I look at the number of people watching, and that kind of gives me an idea of how excited people are over a camera. When I did the R5 Mark II in 2024, I peaked at 1,544 concurrent views. The R6 Mark II last month was 850 concurrent views. We're currently at 501. We'll probably peak in about 10 minutes. And that's one thing. Now, there could be other live streams, I don't know, but it's certainly not as high as I would expect. But I'm looking at not just the comments you guys are putting, I'm also looking at the comments on the Sony's website. And one thing I don't see is a ton of excitement. I don't see anybody raving about one particular capability. But I do want to bring this up because I think this has been glossed over. This is not just a rebadged A7S3. It's just not, this camera isn't from the parts bin. Okay, yes, the shell, but I think in this case, that's a good thing because it's a better shell. And yes, the LCD, but again, I would love to have that type of articulating screen on my R5 too as well. When it comes to the image sensor and the image processor, the photoelectric conversion device, the thing that captures the light and then sends it to the image processor, upgrading the photoelectric conversion device, that is huge on the sensor. Upgrading the sensor itself, upgrading the image processor. This has a way of completely changing the level of quality you get out of your photos and your videos. And I think that is the one big thing we're going to get out of this camera. It's not the extra ports. It's not all those other things. But I think those two new chips, and we're going to start to see these show up in other Sony cameras, at least the image processor. That's a new generation. And we'll probably see this sensor also show up in some other Sony cameras too. How do you guys feel about that? Am I the only one kind of seeing that? Comment away.
Go ahead, Fred.
The thing I was thinking is that, to piggyback off that, is the question that I think everyone's is asking or wondering is like, is the value of what you're going to get with the A7V, is that worth that upgrade?
Value.
And the sensor itself and just the onboard brain behind the camera, I think with the addition of the AI chip, once I went from my A7S3 to, I can't remember what, I think it was maybe the ZV-1 that had the first one, whatever. It was a noticeable difference in how sticky that autofocus was. Sony was already good. We everyone knows that. That's the flag there. But it just got even better. So if they can improve in any way with the autofocus, is incredible. If you're getting a faster sensor, awesome. The image quality, because of the computing on board, those are the things that you're kind of looking at. The A7R5 body, like this is, I feel like one of the best. I mean, my hands are a little bit bigger, so if you've got bigger hands a little bit, I prefer a deeper grip, but overall, this is a very familiar, comfortable body that people get used to pretty quickly. So yeah, that's all those things. Is that enough to get people more excited about this camera? Maybe there was such a negative hype about it, and that's why a lot of people aren't as excited, James.
Value is a very, very important term, and I think that's where the focus needs to be, because it's what it does for you at the end of the day. Look, we're 13 minutes away, so it's time to let you guys know what we're going to do next. We're going to continue taking your questions, and as soon as it flips over to the hour, we're going to follow very closely exactly what Sony has said, although looks like the leak specifications are bang on. We're also going to follow some of your favorite YouTubers, websites, to see what people are saying, and we're going to report back to you and discuss that. And also, if you're still here with us, thank you for everybody watching. We got 551 peak concurrent right now. And if you are interested in pre-ordering or on the fence about pre-ordering the Sony a7V, then please use my links down below in the description. I've got them in the description of this video. They really do help support this channel, keep the lights on. I don't do sponsorships. And I have links for B&H and Adorama in the United States, Wex Audio and Video in the United Kingdom, and Photocog in Europe. And that's when I'm trying to do it from memory instead of using a teleprompter. So yeah, I use a teleprompter so I don't forget some things. A big thanks to those of you that do use my links. It really does help. And thank you in advance. So we're going to continue to take questions. A really good point, Fred. Really good points, James, as well, on the same topic. But I think as an enterprise architect, we always have to follow that value chain to deliver value. I mean, specs in a way are capabilities. Capability is the potential. Value is actually what you get when you do something. And one other person here, and I just lost the comment. They said something about silicon.
The upgrade and the CPU and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But that is like, I want to find the comment.
So while you look at
Here it is.
I'll go ahead.
I think I'm not even going to try to enunciate that, but yeah, they have changed 2 big bits of silicone in the camera with new stuff. and that's likely going to cause a leap in performance, and I would probably say value as well. So continue, guys. Oh, and thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Thank you very much. We've got 4 down likes, and I think this one is a little bit of a sensitive update because I am seeing there is a very vocal crowd that isn't happy with the camera, but I think that's kind of overshadowing what Sony's done here, and I don't want us to I don't want us to focus on the negative because again, I got to remember who is this camera designed for, and the A7 III, the A7 IV. You could look at the A7R, the A7CR, the A7C, some of the ZV cameras. They might offer you better value, or you can even look at the A7 IV right now on sale. You can look at the A7R5, which is on sale, $1,200 off or $900 off.
That's a deal and a half right there, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, for Sony, that's a huge deal.
Yeah. I think Jesse Cumberbatch had a great comment where the talk is just the fatigue of trying to be hype when everything, all the sensors are cameras are basically becoming the same. And it is one of the things I think I think if all the specs appear to be correct, at least that was leaked about this camera, to me this is just a sign that look, cameras have peaked. We have finally plateaued in terms of what is valuable, the valuable
Have
things.
we?
All cameras are. I do believe we've peaked because there's in terms of what we can always look for faster, bigger, stronger technology and all that. But at the end of the day, again, it's the value. And for professionals, which is professional being we get paid to do this, there's only so much technology improvement that can be beneficial in terms of a camera body that's beneficial, that's constantly a beneficial improvement for that the clients or something that can see, or it makes our workflow better. There's only so much, because it's like all the dynamic range, all the cameras have roughly the same amount of dynamic range. All the cameras have roughly the same amount of frame rate options, 4K 60 or maybe a 4K 120. They're all roughly in the same area. It's really just either like choosing the type of look you want. In that case, sensor size, you want APC or do you want full frame? It's more so now about just workflow. And that's something that won't show up in a camera announcement. Workflow won't show up because that's something that you have to. That's part of an ecosystem that, again, Sony built. Again, you have monitor control. Again, I know somebody said, "Oh, there's 2 different apps. There's Monitor Plus, which is a third-party app, and then there's Monitor Control, which is the Sony one." But with Monitor Control, you can basically run a studio just from your laptop now wirelessly. Like Lumix doesn't have anything like that. Canon doesn't have anything like that. Nikon doesn't have anything
Sorry, James.
like that.
Have a monitor?
Don disagrees with you. Look what Don said.
The Lumix, Lumix Flow.
Yeah, he says cameras can't. I understand. He says cameras can't peak, but in terms of just the amount of stuff that you can put in, there's only so much stuff you can put in a small body. Like you can make it smaller and smaller, but it's that's still going to generate more process. That generates more heat. Either you start making things bigger, but apparently a lot of people don't want cameras to be bigger. They want them to be smaller, but still more powerful.
I want like a 10-pound weight. give me a nice.
Brent's like, can we go back to the DSLR days, to the 1D days, where you just had a brick just sitting on the table?
Now you're just being silly. Just being silly.
That's what I love about Canon. Honestly, the one thing that as a years shooting Sony and whatever, but that Canon grip is so good. The lenses are just big and chunky, man. Those are. It just makes you feel like you got like a nice, like robust piece of equipment in your hand. You're good to go. It just, I don't know. There's like a reliability feel with like bigger.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a thing. That was always a thing. People always complained about Canon not pushing the specs. But what was the thing what was they known for was reliable. Look, you could take a 1D series into the frozen tundra of the Arctic, or you could,
Hammering nails with that thing.
yeah, you could take it like you could submerge it and take it. It's like into the depths of the sea, and you knew it would be reliable. That was the thing about Canon cameras; they knew they would be reliable. But that's kind of proven my. But that also leads back again to what I was saying, which is that again, I just like right now it's like everything is basically the same. It's like there isn't really, unless you just really do something insane, like in a sense of like going like Blackmagic did with this recent camera, where they went with a completely different sensor technology. They went a completely different way and changed that for them. Unless something like that comes around, which isn't the case for
Easy does
a
it.
lot of these consumer.
Easy does it. I've got to address this here. Thank you. Photo quality has been the same for almost 2 decades, but you know what hasn't been the same for 2 decades? Is the ability of the autofocus system. It is, when I took the R5 II out and I shot some wildlife and I turned on pre-capture, it was kind of strange. I almost had the feeling as though, wow, they're making it so that anybody can get great shots now. A little bit of, take a course on how to frame, on how to use depth of field, on how to use your basic tools of ISO, aperture, the shutter, and you know what? You can produce incredible results. I was just amazed. Pre-capture, autofocus, those things keep getting better, and they're thinking more like us. So, for example, I was shooting my son at karate a couple of years back. It was annoying because while the autofocus system was fast and it was good, because there were so many kids around, it wouldn't lock on him, or it would lock on him, another kid would get in the way, just throw an arm across. Now it would lock on that kid. Whereas today, with the R5 II that I have, it will lock onto him. And now, of course, you can register faces. You can do that with Sony as well. Can lock onto him. Somebody moves in the way, it's still locking onto him. It doesn't pulsate. He moves out of the frame temporarily. That's fine. It knows. It waits. The autofocus has gotten a whole lot better, enabling us to get a much higher hit rate. And that's where I'm seeing, and I don't think we're done with autofocus. I think we're seeing that predictive autofocus, and that's something else. We kind of haven't touched on this yet. We're going to see in the A7V. Those new chips, the new AI processing in this camera, we're going to see better predictive autofocus. And that's where it's looking at the trajectory of your subject, predicting where they're going to go or not going to go, and to adjust or not adjust the autofocus in combination with that to produce better results. And so, easy does it. I do agree not a lot has changed, but in terms of some of the underlying technology, it certainly has.
2 things real quick. If anyone watches Kofi, his channel is fantastic, and he's been doing a ton of one-on-one comparisons the past few months. He's kind of saying what James is saying, that right now things are so good, like everything is so good that when you compare them right next to each other, it's hard to tell the difference. I did a ProRes RAW ZR red comparison, and besides a little bit of grain, I feel like maybe that's a film bias lot that I used, but there wasn't a huge glaring this is so much better than that. They both are really nice images. And then that's that point. And then
60
Simon,
seconds.
Is that what we're missing? Is there something with the autofocus? Is something that predictive, maybe that autofocus is, maybe that's the point that we're not talking about? I kind of, now I'm sort of interested. I think that you might have a point on that.
Sony, Canon started this with the 1DX Mark III. They provided deep learning AF. Then Sony came out with a dedicated chip. Now they're merging it back in. Canon came out with a digic accelerator. So what we're seeing now, think of it this way. I won't get into the technicals behind it. What we're seeing is an autofocus system that's starting to think a little bit more like us. So with this camera that I have, I'm finding I'm switching. The only 3 changes I make in the autofocus system is setting it to people or animals, or the other ones, and then choosing between single point or wide area. That's really it. Whereas the previous autofocus system, I was doing more things, and I think that's the kind of the big thing in autofocus right now. And for video and stills, it's amazing. And I think what we're going to see, I wouldn't be surprised if what Canon came out with, that action priority mode on the $6,500, $6,200 R1, we could see something like that in the Sony a7V as well. At least we have the architecture to allow for it. Will they
Game
limit
time,
that to
everyone.
the 8 Alpha 1 Mark III or something? But here we go, guys. It's going to begin shortly. I've got closed captions on. If you want to hear Sony speak, go over to the channel, knock yourself out, no problem. But what we're going to do is we're going to provide you with the background, what we're hearing on other websites, what we're hearing on other YouTube channels. We're going to provide a commentary over this, so we're going to keep closed captions on and the audio off. So we'll begin shortly. What is the point, I ask you guys, of having a countdown if you don't start when the countdown's over, especially on pre-recorded videos? See, and another countdown. Like,
There it
really,
is.
what's the point of this?
just release it.
Yeah, I don't know. So at least it's not 2 minutes this time. It's 45 seconds. We got 753 watching, James. Take it away.
Yeah, so I want to
Go
address.
away.
I want to put Melvin's question in. I want to ask everyone right now: if you don't have any camera right now and you need to pick up a camera for the future, for 5 years, for your business, and you want to have all the best features, what are you going for? So I'm gonna I'll start off by saying, where I've seen things are, I'm not gonna go with the best features. I'm gonna go with what best works for me. In my case, in this case, where I work at, the dominant factors are Reds, Aries, Sonys, and then a little bit of Blackmagic. So if I was to start a business, start all over again, I would personally start with shooting Sony just because of the excess of getting work.
Sony's purpose: fill the world with emotion through power and creativity and technology. That's one of the reasons I love video. I use video more than stills now. Is it's being able to capture that emotion for later on. That's one of the most powerful things. Having the right soundtrack, having the right audio, and played in the right speaker system, you can feel it, you can see it. But I've been trying to go back to shoot more stills lately as well. So they're kind of building us up here. They haven't shown us the specs yet. That's not it. No, they're showing a bunch of different cameras here.
That's not it.
That's not it. I know
Who's
my sources.
who's ready for the embargo drop on YouTube when your entire feed turns into A7V videos?
Well, let me just take a look. B&H right here. Look, guys, we can pre-order in the United States
already?
right away.
Wow.
So if you want to use my links, pre-order. Sony, thank you for not making us wait 24 hours. So again, guys, if you want to use my pre-order links, it's very much appreciated for both B&H and Adorama in the United States, Wex Photo Video in the UK, and Photocog in Europe. So here we go. We're getting to the specs. Sensor, watch this.
Jordan Drake confirmed that it's 4K full width, 4K 60, and an APS-C 4K 120.
Yep.
Importantly, all these 4K.
And what? Come on, give us more information here. I'm so waiting. I don't want to talk over this.
I don't see it live on Adorama yet.
It's normal to be off by a minute or two. I've seen with these guys. I don't
So
switch
it's
over.
so petapixels. So Jordan
Look
Drake
at
and
that. No, this is
Petapixel
important. They're
saying
combining
that-
different technologies into the AI system. So this is one of the updates I was talking about earlier. This is important. You want to see how this plays out here.
So just to say, Petapixel and Jordan Drake are saying that in video mode, the readout speed is 10 milliseconds.
Wow. That's
In
good.
photo mode, it's 12 milliseconds.
So the R5 Mark II is 6.3. That's pretty impressive. Now, the R5 will also do 10. 10 is really good, guys. That really reduces the rolling shutter. That if you don't like 10 frames per second mechanical, you can now shoot electronic at 10 frames per second or 12 frames per second, or 12 frames per second, milliseconds. That is a huge improvement. Thank you for bringing that up, James. What else are they going to tell us here? I know. I think this is going to be a good, solid camera. I know some people are disappointed with some specs, but I don't think this is necessarily going to be a spec update of a camera. It's going to be Here we go. Here's one of the fundamental changes.
Another thing. So it is oversampling because I know this was a conversation. It is oversampling the full 7K up to 60 frames.
It had to. I couldn't imagine Sony
So
reversing gears.
it is using the full 7K oversampled.
Okay, good. Gerald has the rolling shutter at 14 milliseconds for 4K 24. Yeah, it changes, and that's all cameras. It will change based on mode, but still, well done, Sony. That is awesome. That really so it's one of the problems I said they were going to fix. Remember that forecast video? They fixed the rolling shutter. That's good. And there's that guy.
Yeah, there's no way that this is going to be a bad camera in any way. You know, expectations are sometimes met and sometimes not met, but I don't think this is going to be bad in any way at all.
Gerald's got his video out. The R6 Mark III, he just kind of phoned it in. He was like, yeah, all cameras are good. So I'm curious to see what he'll say about the A7V.
All right. Also, just another update: no external RAW recording video option.
Okay.
So you cannot. So there's no. Obviously, nobody expected to record RAW internally, like all the other camera manufacturers that can do it, but But you can't do external RAW recording either.
Sorry to interrupt, but the new Bion's XR2 image processor there's no AI processing chip. It's now part of that. So all new cameras will get this new chip.
Oh, so they did integrate it all into one, right?
System on a chip.
Awesome. Nice.
Yeah, I think that's, well, it helps with speed too. It really does, because your latency is reduced. You're not having to go back out to the bus. So these can really impact the results. Because I think one thing that's really important is increasing that hit rate. Since having the R5 II, I have not had one shot video clip that has poor exposure. The tools really make a difference. You're not guessing anymore. So what's the app, James? People should spend $20 for the Monitor Plus app.
Monitor Plus.
Yeah, if you want false colors in EL Zone, spend the $20 and get that Monitor Plus app.
Yeah. Like every modern Sony camera, it's a third-party app. Because I know Easy does it. There was like confusion. It's like thinking I was talking about monitor control. No, there's two apps. There's Monitor Control, which is the Sony proprietary one, which is free, but weirdly enough, to do multi-camera control, you actually have to pay a subscription in order to access that. But Monitor Plus, it's free as well. But for a one-time purchase of $20, you will get access to false color. You'll get anamorphic options. You'll get grid and third control, and you'll get stop base exposure, which is essentially EL Zone, just not called EL Zone.
It says pre-order, but when you go pre-order, it says notify when available. It looks like Sony in the United States is still sucking it to us, saying, you guys in the United States, you don't deserve a camera. You need time to cool off. That's not cool. Come on. Let me check Wex photo and video in the UK. So Wex photo video.
People are asking for the price.
You go away. Okay. Ask me questions. Why am I not seeing it here? Okay, let's go to.
No, there's no price order. There's no chart cost thing yet.
No, I'm not. Yeah, B&H just has notify, and that doesn't have any packages that the no lens.
Well, look at that.
In
Germany, France, or the rest of Europe, you can add it to your shopping cart. Look at that. Sony, why do you not like us in the United States or Canada? Have we done something?
We're constantly on the internet complaining about their stuff.
Well, we're not. It's like people want to buy your cameras. Yeah, people want to buy your cameras, and you're giving them a cool off time. Why? You don't let Europeans cool off. You let them buy right away. New Zealanders, Aussies. This is just silliness. So I'm going to take a look at the specs here, but I'm really kind of peeved with this. Notify when available. It is available in Europe. It's available in the rest of the planet. But for some reason, in North America here, you think you think something because you're doing it differently with us. All right, so let's take a deep dive into the specs. And again, if you guys are seeing something from Gerald Undone or others, let us know. And we'll take a look here. So sensor shift, that's their marketing speak for IBIS. I just use IBIS all the time. Partially stacked. So it is partially stacked is the terminology they're using. We've got lots of different modes here. I'm not going to go through every mode.
I was asking if we could talk about the dual USB-C ports.
What do you want to talk about?
I guess sort of like the functionality, like how they're different. Isn't one like just isn't one, and Fred, you can maybe, because you got the A7R5, isn't one just like power dedicated and the other one is more data dedicated?
On the A7R5, this is it's both. It functions both ways, delivering and accepting power. And it still has the old mini USB, the original, I don't know, micro USB on it, and then the C is right next to it. So
Okay.
In those ports, the C does both. You can have power there, and then I can also kind of talk to the camera or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's cool. Okay, that's cool. So I guess that means it's like the power delivery, then the PD is going to be much better on this camera, which it will be a pretty good thing, especially if you got like these small little power banks that you can use, and so you don't have to spend on V mounts. This also brings up a good point, I guess, that goes back to Monitor Plus. So you can actually hook your iPhone when you hook your iPhone through the USB-C port, it actually basically creates a wired signal on Monitor Plus app, which means, and in that case, the latency is pretty much gone.
Yeah,
So
it's almost obsolete. Yeah,
it's obsolete. So you can use Monitor Plus and get all the exposure tools you want, and you get almost zero latency if you go through Type-C port.
I see what Sony's doing. They're playing dirty pool. They'll pre-order it on their website, but they won't let all their retailers do a pre-order. Way to support the retailers. That's kind of dirty pool. It's kind of like Canon when they do a sale on their lenses. They'll do $400 off, but the retailer has to eat that, right? It takes away from their profit margin too. I hate it when that's kind of dirty pool. Okay, so
yeah. So $28,999 is on the Sony website. So if we,
what was the price that I predicted? What did I say?
Oh, hey, I think that was it. It was between $28.99 and $30.49.
Yeah, look at that. I think I said that.
Was that pressure? Do you think that was pressure that was coming within $100 of the R6 Mark III?
No, basically what I had done is like any sort of real estate agent, when you're looking at pricing something, you look at what's on the market, and I saw some cameras at this price point and lenses that were $100 less or $50 more. So I just used that same range, and I knew it would fall within there. And I'm happy to say that it's only $100 more than the Canon. So it's right within that same price point. It's good news. But the Nikon Z6 Mark III is some $800 less, right? So the Nikon, I think, is $20.99 for their Z6 Mark III.
Yeah.
And the ZR is $600 less. No, that's right. That's right. It is $700 less.
$700. Yeah, but that, I mean, the ZR, man, that could be a whole podcast episode that we should do about that camera. But you can't compare. That ZR is not even in that same conversation with the Z6 III or this one. This is my opinion. The photo is more prevalent in those two camera bodies, I think.
Right.
Still interesting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to. Yeah.
Oh, is it now available on B&H?
Yeah.
I'm hearing.
So Central. So the Sony
you can pre-order on B&H, folks. There we go.
It's up now.
Yeah. That might have. You know what? That's 13 minutes. That might have been a communication issue between, because I've seen this before with B&H and Adorama. Sometimes the web department doesn't get the message, because we saw a pre-order on the Flash page, but it was going to the Notify Me page. So, sorry, Sony. There are a few things I try to influence, and certain things like CF Express cards, which some of you disagree with. 30-minute record limits on Canon. Nobody didn't want to see that not change. But I really do want you guys to...
We did a whole hashtag of release the 30-minute recording.
Well, now it's 6 hours. So they haven't eliminated it, but it's 6 hours is the record limit. Which, really? Why even bother
unless you're doing IRL. Simon, unless you're doing IRL, who's going to? I'm sorry, who's going to watch it for 7 hours straight? Or unless you're doing some sort of marathon.
Did the price just change on B&H?
It's $28.98, so you can save $1.
It was $28.99. It's now
on B&H.
Guys, order now. Save yourself $1.
$1.
Okay, Jimbo, we're gonna have this conversation here. I don't care if people unsubscribe to me. So I will first of all say that when I bought the R5 back in 2020, I put out a video saying, why do we need CF Express cards? They're more expensive. SD cards can do 4K 60. We don't need CF Express cards. I don't need another card in my bag. I was that person. I said it. Then I bought a card just to prove my point. And immediately, not recording, I didn't notice any real benefits in recording, but when it came to editing, and I realized I didn't have to wait half an hour to move my content off. It was very quick. And that's the real benefit to these CF Express Type B cards. Heat, no. The R5 II has heat pipes in it. That's what Canon did to solve the problem with the overheating. You can put a battery grip on. I've got the one here that has, instead of just batteries, which it does, it has a fan that puts air through that. So you can solve that. Now, I'm not saying Canon's done it right. Neither has Panasonic or Nikon. Canon, Nikon, Panasonic. Thank you for CF Express Type B. Dual, please, at least in your higher-end cameras. There's no reason not to. As far as overheating goes, I know you've got solutions to that. Please. And I said this in 2022. I said, you know what? The Canon R5 Mark I, when it will release, it doesn't necessarily have to have overheating. They will have solved that. Now, it took them about a year and a half to solve it with a firmware update, not hardware update, but you could record for a long period of time with the R5 without it overheating. The R5 II, same thing. I haven't had it overheat. So we can solve those problems. And the problem with the cost is no longer. It's actually cheaper per gigabyte than Type A, and it's becoming cheaper per gigabyte than SD cards now as well, especially V60 and V90 cards. I know it's other cards you have to buy, but you know, when you can buy for $180 a 512 gigabyte card, you know, and they're V4 cards, that's kind of my thing. So you're smiling, James, because am I taking heat on this?
No, I'm just like, that's it. I'm done. Rage quitting. So CF Express Type, all this conversation about CF Express Type B. I'm done.
Yeah, and I can't take it out of the camera because I'm shooting with it right now. I've got dozens of these things, and
Hey, real quickly, I'm gonna throw something in there. When is the day that we're gonna get some onboard storage? If
we do.
all of these action cameras and everything else can come out with 50 or at least something, like give us something on board,
I don't
right?
want that.
Well,
You know why I don't want it? Because with CF Express, so for example, they came out with V4, twice the performance of V3, right? I didn't have to buy a new camera. I just switched out the card. I wanted to go from 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte. I switched out the card. To go to 4 terabytes, I switched out the card, right? So I understand. And people say, yeah, but NVMe is faster. Well, CF Express is NVMe. It's 2 PCIe lanes for Type B, 1 for Type A, and 4 for Type C, although we don't have a Type C at this point. It's on the CF Express Association's page. And I don't have the size of it, but it's probably, now this doesn't help you. It's definitely bigger than Type B for a good bit. What's that? You got show and tell, James. What's that there? You got? What you got
right
there?
here, man. This is what I got. A Lexar Professional 512 gigabyte CF Express Type B card.
Lovely. Love that.
Been running it off my Pixis 12K, and I've been able to get, basically run just this one card and have no issues. To Fred, to your point on internal storage,
Terrible.
keep in mind those sensors are extremely smaller than full frame cameras. We're talking either the biggest ones being 1-inch sensors or like 1/1/8. They're much smaller, so the sensor doesn't have to generate as much heat with those cameras comparing to full frame sensors and the process and the data that you would need for those type of cameras. And also, I think most of those are not even using like all eye like these cameras are doing, or much don't even think about RAW. They're using H.265, so very, very compressed files, not higher on sensor, so it doesn't generate nearly as much heat. I think really heat, again, this is the problem that we all want. We want everything smaller, and we want everything in there.
Well,
but physics,
not
everything. There's this thing called physics that comes up.
this is from just like a regular hobbyist guy that goes out and shoots some fun family stuff or whatever, right? Like the still vlogging in 2025 guy. When there's times, I'm not asking for raw internal into the camera with no memory cards. What I'm saying is that when you grab your camera and you're running out to just go shoot and have some fun for the day, if you're a professional and you forget your cards, that's crazy. That you should really like spend some time with yourself and figure that out emotionally. But if you're just a regular person just grabbing a camera, sometimes you forget a card. Give us some JPEG options to take some photos. Give us some light formats and codecs just to get some, even like 2.7K. Give us something internal that when you're out and you're about to shoot and you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot my card. It's all my wife's fault. I'm definitely going to blame it on her, but just give us something internal that we can, peace of mind, a little backup. That's all.
I'm frustrated with this review because they got a conclusion, but they're not providing details. They're they're generalizing, and I hate generalizations because it's not specific. I'm looking for information here, but Keith thinks that it's a very solid upgrade. And of course, yes, you got that screen, which is really, really good. No one's going to say, well, that's a bad thing. That's definitely a good thing, even if they didn't increase the resolution.
Central had a question. Do we know if it crops in 4K 120? Yes,
it does.
Has an APS-C
1.5.
It has an APS-C 1.5 crop in 4K 120.
Okay, let's take a look here. A DP review usually has a pretty good side. What is our friends Jordan Drake and what's his friend? Chris Nichols? Chris Copperfield? I like Copper. Copper's nice. So they're talking about the Bion's XR processor. We've already covered that. Enhanced autofocus, yeah, not surprising. The power of the new processor significantly enhances the camera's subject recognition capabilities, something I predicted that would happen. The A7R4 had the ability to recognize and prioritize people, their faces and eyes, but the V takes this much further. It gains a system designed to better recognize human subjects, but also trained to recognize a range of non-human subject types. So it talks about, but Sony's already really done this. You saw this in the Alpha series. So that's great. No UFOs, no boats, although I'm pretty sure that the vehicle's going to pick up on boats. Separate modes for animals and birds, as well as combined animal-bird. Not really telling us how. Improved stabilization. Yeah, that's definitely helpful. Let's see.
I just read a comment. Someone was asking about where are all the YouTubers with the camera. It looks like Sony didn't. So I'm checking my feed, just the people that I watch. You got Petapixel out there. Kai's video is out. Terry Warfield, Jason Vong, Jason Morris, Peter Lindgren actually released a video on this, which is kind of surprising. He hasn't done much with stuff like this. Chris Brockhurst has a video out, and Gerald's video is out. So if those are people that I've been watching for a few years, and so there are people that have this camera to answer that question. Sorry, Simon, go ahead.
No, thank you for that. Appreciate introductions. If you got more information to share, I do think this is going to be a good solid camera. I'm not going to say is it better than the R6 Mark III. I never really cared about that. Take you back to when it was 2020 again, and I was really tired of what Canon was producing. It was 2018. I wasn't happy with the EOS R when that was announced. I was really looking forward to the Sony a7S III. The GH5 had terrible autofocus. So I was really kind of looking for Sony to deliver something. The reason why I didn't want to leave Canon is because I had a bunch of lenses, and most of us don't want to switch unless the platform's going under or they're just not giving us what we need. And I don't so much care whether this is better than the R6 Mark III, because the only people who care about that are people who are new to the environment. And they're going to look at things such as lens inventory. They're going to look and see which are the best camera bodies. For Sony customers, the A7 III, the A7 IV, to look at this camera, I think it provides a lot of definite improvements. And really, when it comes to the autofocus system, I think that matters an awful lot. The video did what it had to do. And there's a pretty big crop in 4K 120. That does surprise me it's that big. I would personally use 4K 120 more than I would use 4K 60. I was hoping it'd be more like 1.1 or 1.2. 2 USB-C ports, that's really good. Full-size HDMI port, that's good.
Someone asked about the R6 Mark III. Doesn't crop in a 4K 120? No, it does not crop in 4K 120. Just want to throw that in there. Go ahead.
What Canon does with 4K 120 is you get a slightly softer image than you would at 4K 30, for example, but you don't have to worry about reframing, which is really nice. Because a lot of times when I'm out, like if I'm doing whales or some other large animal, I'll position myself based on where I expect that animal to show up. And then if I switch between 4K 30 and 4K 120, I'm now not positioned right. So 50% is a lot to overcome, which, it's something they chose to do. The menu system, I'm not even going to talk about the menu system. They're all different. I had no problem using the Sony menu system with my first A7S III. So
the Sony system is just that.
Yeah. Sorry, James, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's just like most system, but with the Sony system, you just need to just spend. First of all, again, if you're a professional, you'll sit down all the time and just lower and learn your system. But you just got to take a few hours out of your time just to go over and learn the system and just go through the paces. But once you've got sort of what your setup is, it's like honestly, the only time I ever go into the menu system is to format. That's really like on my FX3. That's the only time I go into the menu system is to just format the camera.
So you talk about how they can be better. What's annoying for me is I find myself when I want to switch between 4K 120 and 4K 30, I have to find myself going into the menus. There's no simple one button unless I store it in a custom mode, but I don't like storing in custom modes because I freeze them so they don't change. So I've always got them. So I wish I could just press a button that says 4K 120, 4K fine. It alters back and forth because when I go into 4K 120 on the Canon, I have to enable 4K 120. It removes me from, well, put it this way. When I have to go back into 4K fine, I then have to disable 4K 120. I have to go back and set it back to intra. I have to go back and set it to 30 frames per second UHD fine. I have to change several settings. And it's annoying. And when you're out shooting, you don't want to do that. You're almost better off to have two cameras.
Yeah, so on the Sony, you can change the frame rate. So like you can hit a button, you can assign a button that can choose where you can then choose. No, not S&P. Like you can go from 24 to 60 frames a second, and then if you have a CF Express Type A, you can go to 120 frames a second. But you can also assign a button that can instantly access the S&P SEQ and go into that overcranked 4K 120. At least on the FX3. So you do have a button where you can swap between 24 and 60 and 30 if you want to.
On the S1 Mark II, that little function button with the My List, I store a bunch of my, not presets, but like my frame rates and all that kind of stuff. And yes, there is a few minor stipulations in there, but if you're shooting in most modes, then with that My List, you just hit the Q and drop down the My List, swing over. Maybe it's like 2 presses, and you're 24 to 120 to whatever. So and it kind of automatically will adjust those settings for you, so there's not much of a lag there. So
yeah,
what I want to do is I want to start to wrap things up because I know some of my guests have meetings to attend, as do I. I want to say a special thanks to Fred Callahan, who stayed with us throughout this entire presentation, James Jackson for returning. Guys, please do subscribe to the YouTube channels. Please subscribe to mine. It's very much appreciated. And again, if you are going to pre-order the A7V, please use my links down below. It's very much appreciated. I'm covering off most regions. Fred, this is my first time with you on the channel. Thank you very much for showing up. It's been fun with you. Lots to talk about. Any final words, Fred?
Yeah, my apologies for the beginning of the stream. I had a different, I won't mention the brand, but I had a different camera plugged into my computer for my webcam, and I feel like that was the failure point. So my apologies to begin with. No, Simon, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. James, it's a pleasure meeting you. Hopefully we can chat more in the future. I think overall, we are so fortunate to have such amazing tools to go out and just create and have fun with, and it's the banter in the comments is sometimes pretty fun. Other times it can be a little weird, but I just think that at the end of the day, no matter what you shoot, just go out, create, take photos, just capture the things you want to capture and share it with the people that you care about. And that's the most important thing. That's it. It doesn't matter. You can have a 10-year-old camera. So, but thank you to both of you. It's been a pleasure and super fun. And everyone watching, thank you so much. And support the channels, everyone. We put a lot of effort into these things. So go out and support. Thanks.
I think it will do well. We got up to just under, sorry, just under 800 concurrent views, which tells me that there is a lot of demand. But I think people are going to have to watch the reviews and read the reviews, because I think the specs don't appear to be impressive, but I think this is a very solid improvement. It's going to make the A7 IV look dated. No, there are no Canadian pre-orders. However, Robert, no matter where you are in Canada, and I want to say a special thanks to Patrick at Downtown Camera. I just bought the 10 to 20 millimeter from him. Patrick at Downtown Camera, the phone number in the description down below. He's been in the industry for 20 years, a very good man. He doesn't pay me to say this. I don't get any money back from Downtown Camera. But mention my name and see if he'll sharpen the pencil a little bit, even if it's a new item like this. And they ship anywhere within Canada. So I'm finding out today I got a 10 to 20 millimeter f4 showing up. Spent too much money on a lens I probably will use 5 times a year. James, over to you, my friend. Thank you. Always having you on here. Love having your viewpoint. And even if you sometimes disagree with me, I love that banter. And I think we're getting to the point where we're knowing how to play devil's advocate a few times to cover the topic better. Yes.
Look, it's always good to have conversations, and thank you, Simon, for bringing me on once again. I love these conversations because one, it's just like we get to share knowledge. We get to share knowledge and our experiences, and we get to have fun talking about gear, which we love. But I think Fred hit the nail on the head. It's like we're so blessed right now to at the stage that we are. It's like when we're arguing over nitpicky things like open gate or
dynamic range
or like a half a stop of dynamic range, like that says that we have come a long way as a community and as an industry. And each person said, like, look, there's no bad cameras anymore. It's just what works for you.
What do you feel comfortable with?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that is something that you as the individual have to figure out and have to take some time to do some soul searching to figure out if you haven't figured it out already. Once you do, then just run the table and go with horses and just go out and film. At the end of the day, like, these tools are only useful if you actually make something happen. And I hope you all that regardless if you pre-order these or not, this new camera, or you go with one of the other cameras, just go out and make something happen and make it worth it. And thank you guys again. Simon, thank you for all. And yeah, support Fred, support Simon, and me as well. And let's just continue to grow and just continue to move forward.
And I'll keep doing this, guys. I might shoot with Canon. It's because my brother had a Canon, and when I got started, that's what I got into. And I'm the type of person who looks at money very carefully, and even if Sony comes out with a better camera, I'm not going to switch because I've got all these lenses. And even if Canon goes bankrupt, I'm not going to switch because the opportunist in me will see, oh, the stuff is going to get cheaper now because people are just going to flog it and move to, right? So I'm old as well. The only thing that could make me switch out of the camera I have right now is it's getting a little bit too heavy for my arthritic body. But as I'm losing my voice now, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Honestly, I know I sound good in my videos, but I'm able to edit this stuff out. Live, I can't. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I've got to get back to work in about 27 minutes, so cheers.
Hey, my last little plug, I have the R6 Mark III coming in next week. I'm doing a few videos on that, so if anyone is interested, jump over and check it out. And if you have any things that you want me to go over or whatever, let me know, please.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. I just hit the subscribe button and hit the bell. So for you, Fred. So I'll keep an eye out for that video.
Binge watch Fred. Let's get him to that monetization stage. Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.